morning, good afternoon, good evening. 17th November 2017. I think will go down in Zimbabwean history as Dzungu Day or Dam Day. Many people have started calling it Dzungu Day, and for good reason. Because on that day, Zimbabweans poured out onto the streets in support of the military coup of 2017. They aided and abated it, and they were celebrating when Mnangagwa finally took over from Mugabe. It is Dzungu Day because the people of Zimbabwe were celebrating the removal of one dictator, Robert Gabriel Mugabe, who had ruled the nation for 37 years. But they did not pay attention to what they were doing, in the sense that it is utterly pointless removing Mnangagwa, but only to replace him, removing Mugabe only to replace him with Mnangagwa. It's just removing one dictator and replacing it with another. How can that be progress? The point is, we were supposed to be focusing on ending the dictatorship. After 37 years of the Zanu PF dictatorship, the nation should have had their minds focused completely and entirely on ending the Zanu PF dictatorship, period. But when the coup organizers dangled in front of the people the option of, we will remove Mugabe, people jumped for it. And that is a mistake. You are abandoning your original agenda, i.e., ending the dictatorship, and accepting a compromise where all you are doing is removing one dictator to replace him with another. Of course, that was foolish. And I think hardly 6 months after that, many people already, the penny had dropped. They'd realized what they had done. And they were openly accepting that 20th of November, that 17th of November 2017 was Dzungu Day. Here is a video of some of the celebration on the day. People did celebrate, but again, they were celebrating for the wrong thing. That is the message. The important thing here why people of Zimbabwe should celebrate not only this year, but every year, the 17th of November, 2017, is because this was not the first time that the people of Zimbabwe did the dumb thing. It was dumb. It was stupid. This wasn't the first time, nor, alas, was it the last time. Even if we look at Zimbabwe in terms of elections, the people have been warned that if you participate in an election process that is flawed, you will give the process legitimacy. The dumb thing that happened during the GNU was to fail to implement the democratic reforms, which would have stopped Zanu PF rigging the elections. Thereafter, participating in flawed elections, knowing fully well that the process is flawed, knowing fully well that by participating, you are giving Zanu PF legitimacy, was, let's be honest, foolish. There cannot be any denying of that. And yet, that is exactly what we have been doing. After the 2017, even if we say, okay, people had learned their lesson in 2017, 2018, the elections, hardly eight months after the coup, the people of Zimbabwe once again participated in those flawed elections, knowing fully well that the process is flawed, and knowing fully well that by participating, they're giving Zanu PF legitimacy. But participate they did. Chamisa told them that MDC alliance had stringent measures to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. Of course, he was lying.
Makorokoto Zimbabwe nokuti hakuna munhu anomira kana denga raronga plan. Denga raronga plan, denga harifoiri. Plan yaMwari haifoiri. Ini ndatanga kugadzira cabinet. There is no way we are not going to form a new cabinet. There is no way we are not going to have a celebration. There is no way we are not going to have an inauguration. Let's start preparing.
Conned them to participate in another flawed election, promising Triple C was going to win big. Hashtag God is in it. And what is really shocking here is that even now, 2 years since those elections, while many people accept that Zanu PF rigged the elections, they will not accept that Chamisa lied to them. It doesn't make any sense. If he said he had plugged the vote rigging loopholes to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections, and you accept that Zanu PF rigged the elections, the very thing that Chamisa said he was going to stop, then surely he was lying. And yet, this is the very point that some of these people continue. They will not accept it. The tragedy here, why the 17th of November should be remembered, is that we are about to repeat the same mistake of 2017 by participating in flawed 2028 elections. This time, the argument is participate to stop Mnangagwa extending his stay in office. And a lot of people have been galvanized around that issue. I'll just play a short video clip of one of the opposition leaders, Tendai, arguing on that very point.
That is to say, 2/3 in the National Assembly and 2/3 in the Senate. It must then go to a referendum, because it is a bill altering term limits in the country. The referendum is a simple process, Baba. The referendum simply asks whether you are saying yes or no. Because we are going to campaign and live in the mountains to get that no vote. There's a second problem. The Constitution then says, when you change this Constitution and you remove the term limits, it doesn't benefit the incumbent.
It benefits the next.
It benefits the next. But you can change that provision.
Same process.
Yeah, we call it the Abdoulaye Wade provision. Because President Abdoulaye Wade amended the Constitution for a third time, and Senegalese said, it can't benefit you. And he lost at that stage. And that's why President Sall came in. And as fat as Yazid, as you know, President Macky Sall also tried to change the Constitution to benefit him. Yet he came through a process of rejecting a third term agenda. Right. That's why you can't trust people. But anyway, to come back to the legal process. Another referendum is required now to change the constitutional provision that says you can't benefit. That's when we will see Trababala's true colors, because all along you'll be saying, I don't want Vandova Akuda. Now when he says, now the Akuda, the constitution has to go to a referendum for the second time. Baba, pakaipa. Tusangana makomu, tusangana kwa Chendabwe, tusangana ku Lotito, tusangana ku Eskodini, tusangana ku Binga, tusangana ku Cholocho. He can't win those referendums. He cannot win those referendums.
Okay.
So to put it very crudely,
the number one reason is that we are stopping Mnangagwa extending his stay in office. This is madness, because we have got also to realize that the price behind it is not different from 2017, where we the people supported the military coup to remove Mugabe. But the inevitable aftermath of that was that we will be replacing Mugabe with Mnangagwa. In other words, the price for removing Mugabe was replacing him with another Zanu PF dictator. And in like manner, the price of stopping Mnangagwa extending his rule in this case would be to replace him with another Zanu PF dictator. Because if you participate in a flawed 2028 election, Zanu PF will win. And because you've participated, you have given Zanu PF legitimacy. And Zanu PF will definitely have their own dictator in office. This whole argument by some people saying, oh, no, we are willing to accept even VP Chiwenga. Afterwards, we can talk about it. The same applied in 2017. People thought, oh, we will have Mnangagwa, and then afterwards we can talk about it. We are now stuck with the same corrupt and tyrannical regime, the Zanu PF dictatorship. Nothing changed. We should have never taken our eyes off our original requirement. Let's end the dictatorship itself. Don't bother and waste time about swapping one dictator with another. That is not a viable alternative. The second argument that some people are using to justify participating in these elections is that by participating, we'll be protecting the Constitution. It beggars belief the mentality of some people. Are you happy with the Constitution that has failed the nation to the point where we have failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections ever since the country's independence? We drafted the new constitution in 2013, and it too has failed to deliver free, fair, and credible elections. We are stuck with the dictatorship because the people of Zimbabwe, ordinary people of Zimbabwe, have been denied their meaningful say in the governance of the country by the same constitution we are talking about here. So it beggars belief when somebody says, oh, we are defending the Constitution. So the only part of the Constitution you're willing to defend is the one that says Mnangagwa or the dictator cannot extend his stay in office. What good is that to you? Whether it's Mnangagwa or another dictator or Mugabe, if it's a dictatorship, we are still suffering. To perpetuate the dictatorship just because you want, at the end of the day, to say, oh, I stopped Mnangagwa staying in power, is to fail to see the bigger picture. The bigger picture is, if you do not participate in 2028, Zanu PF will be denied political legitimacy. SADC and the AU have already left their mark. SADC and the AU condemned 2023 elections as flawed and illegal. And they would have gone one step further and denied Zanu PF legitimacy if Chamisa had not conned 2 million of his followers to participate. Another form of Dzungu, the damn stupidity. This time, he's conning people to participate in 2028 under the disguise that they will be stopping Mnangagwa staying in office beyond 2028 and they'll be protecting the Constitution. We don't want to protect a constitution that has already failed to deliver basic human rights to ordinary people. This constitution is of no value to the ordinary Zimbabwean. What we want is to deny Zanu PF political legitimacy and have another GNU in which this time the people can finally implement the democratic reforms and end the dictatorship. That is what we should be looking at. We took our eyes off the ball in 2017. Dzungu. We should not repeat the same mistake again. We want a democratic Zimbabwe. The price for it is to stick to our guns and demand meaningful change in the country. And you do not get meaningful change by keeping on participating in a flawed process to give the process legitimacy. That is the argument. I totally agree that 17th November 2017 was Dzungu Day. The people were dumb. This dumb day. And we should remember it. For no other better reason than to remind ourselves to be rational. We can't keep on repeating the same mistakes over and over again. Zimbabwe has failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections for 45 years and counting. We can stop all this madness. Think about it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.